Alright guys, MattG here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Wednesday. Today I wanted to talk about a story that came out last night, that being Rambo Ray, Call of Duty legend, being around a very long time, worked with Sledgehammer for a few years on their games, now back to Call of Duty. We've seen him appear on a couple of podcasts recently, the Puckett and Big Timer podcast. He's been on a couple of times. People are thinking, damn, is this guy getting back into COD? Exactly what's going on, because he left Sledgehammer Games just a few weeks ago, and now he's been confirmed as the general manager and head coach even of the both together, of the Dallas Empire of all teams. It was a very interesting situation at the start of the season when Dallas Empire, they didn't have a coach. Clayster talked about on stream saying, look, we don't feel like there's anyone in the community right now that can bring exactly what we want to the table, especially given Clay and Crimsix complete OGs, right, back in the day. And they've got Tommy on the bench as well, who has kind of been acting as kind of a coach type of player for them, especially at the London event. Like, he was, on the comms as if he was their coach mid-map, or not mid-map, but mid-series, right? Giving them after map 1, map 2, like telling the teams to calm down, or, whatever exactly that coaching role is. Tommy was trying to, step into that position, which is why I really wasn't expecting this move. Pretty interesting announcement. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's hop into a few things first. Roster Mania related, I guess just roster changes. Technically it's not Roster Mania right now, but in terms of the amateur scene, UYU have been a really competent team since right at the start of the season. Pentagram, Emery's and Zyral are gone. Looks like Rex and Infamous Kev are going to be in the team. Not exactly what else is going on, but as you can see here from Crone at CDL Intel, Pentagram says, got ahead of my sentences there, officially a restricted free agent for the remainder of the season. Main subflex, I will make your team better. I can promise you that. Retweet appreciated. So keep an eye on this team going forward, exactly how that is going to perform. So yeah, like they're saying Rex and Infamous are going to stay, Infamous Kev, but who exactly is going to be the remaining 3 on that team? Like, it remains to be seen as far as the current time, as far as we're at right now. Vortex says the following as well. Myself, Nasty, Dave Denzer and PT. So this was the team that just won that Paris Challengers event under Team War. They say are exploring options for a new organization. Now, what he says to clarify here is, we've loved being a part of Team War, and this isn't necessarily the end of the road. However, we would love to go to more events than is currently being proposed, which is why it is vital for us to explore all of our options. So yeah, apparently, it seems like Team War don't have the funding to send them over to the States every other week, which is fair enough. But of course, it seems like they're looking for, if there is an organization that can fund that, that's definitely what they'd like to explore. Now, to follow up on the UYU stuff, because I've just seen this. So we talked about Pharaoh potentially being linked to OpTic Gaming. Seems like that hasn't happened, and now it's been linked to UYU. So as you can see by this team, Pharaoh, Rex, Infamous, Cells, and Hollow apparently is the squad they might be going for. So Rex and Infamous, as we just saw, minus Zyral, minus Emery's, and minus Pentagram. Pharaoh, Cells, and Hollow looking like the guys to complete the squad. So interesting situation. Clearly OpTic decided not to go down that route, as we can see right now, which is very interesting, right? I thought that was a potential approach, but as we talked about, and as we talked about yesterday, really, with this podcast with Nameless, Pac-Man, and Enable, they said, look, Pharaoh didn't get on well with Slash's style back in the Black Ops 4 days. What makes you really think it's going to work better this time around? Maybe nothing much. So interesting decision, but keep your eyes on that going forward. And just before we get into this then, so the Toronto team of Brack, let's see, right? Because Brack is a guy who has not been on the team so far this season. Looney, Cammy, Bance, of course, the squad. Metals went out the team, Bance came in, Classic, and Methods has been on the main squad. Now, we see in this video from Octane Sam that Methods out the team, it seems like, but Brack was in the squad. But then Methods replies to this saying, look, I'm not benched, which is very interesting, right? Because Crone CDL until just says, just for this map, like, why was Brack subbing in for this one? Who knows, maybe Methods had something on, had to go out for the evening, or whatever the case may be, and had to be subbed in for that particular scrim set. But it doesn't seem like, as for now, Methods is off the team yet. Would be an interesting change to me, given that I thought Methods was pretty much, like, going to be one of these foundational players for the team, given he's kind of got that really slow, traditional boots on the ground style. I thought he was going to be pretty much a lock-in for their starting roster, but who knows with Toronto when you've got so many players on the bench. Let's move on then. So this is it from Rambo Ray. This is what he tweeted out a couple of weeks ago now, 21st of February. Today was my last day at Sledgehammer Games. The last 5.5 years at Sledge have been an amazing time and experience. I didn't quite know what to expect here since my previous job was to play the games at the highest level. So He was involved at the Sledgehammer games. The World War II, of course, was the game that came out kind of under his supervision, as it were. But, of course, he wasn't really the head guy. Michael Condrey, of course, who was the head guy at the time, who has now moved into a role at Activision, said, "You're one of the good ones, Ray." Really, pretty much an indictment of that Sledgehammer games team. If this is what Condrey's coming out and saying, "I count myself fortunate to have worked with you. I'll always remember the supportive conversations with Hastro." You know, look who we see here, Hastro, Ray, to get you into the studio and on your path as a developer. You made us all better. Best of luck on next steps. And I think I might have gone through this tweet before, but interesting, of course, that Hastro is mentioned here, given he is the owner of the Dallas Empire and Envy back in the day. And guess what comes out yesterday? We're excited to welcome Call of Duty esports legend Rambo Ray to the Dallas Empire. He joins us as general manager and head coach as we continue to hashtag build an empire, baby. This is the video that comes out with, I may share, a couple of, small clips from it.
So my former professional career is going to help my role mostly because of why and what made me good as a professional was mostly my kind of knowledge and understanding of how to play the games at the highest level. I was never really the guy who shot. I mean, crap, people made like turn-on videos of Rambo Ray. I had days and days and days of people sending me clips of turn on me. But again, I was never the skillful player. I was always the guy who kind of thought himself out of situation.
There is music in the background, so I've got to be careful. But it's pretty interesting seeing how his career developed throughout the day. And yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with Rambo Ray, this is a legend from the scene. And we'll just have to have a look here at some of his performances over his career. And one of the things he talks about in this video is that he redefines how Call of Duty is played to some degree. Back in the Black Ops 2 days, most of the top players were, they were good in game, like they had good aim and all of this kind of stuff. But it was pretty rare to find players that really thought about the game through a deep analytical lens. Like, what is theoretically the best way to play Hardpoint and the best way to play Search and Destroy? And which strategies are the best? How early should you rotate? Bringing new weapons into the meta. The MP7 was a pretty common one with Rambo Ray that he pulled out in Black Ops 2 back in the day as well. He had a mind for the game like not other players. He was, I guess most people today would consider him a burger on the sticks. Like, he wasn't the best in terms of, hitting the shots, right? But in terms of his analytical mind, he was considered one of the very best. And every time this top 10 discussion comes around, top 10 players of all time, there's always people who throw Rambo Ray in the mix, at least as an honourable mention, just because of what he did for the scene back in the day. So, real legend of the scene, and of course, going to work on developing the game for a number of years as well, before now coming back to be the head coach. Question is, does he still understand Call of Duty to the same degree as they did in the past? Because the game has changed a lot, right? Let's not pretend that the likes of Simp and Abizi and these guys over at to FaZe, they're playing a different game, really, to how the Call of Duty was played back in the Black Ops 2 days. And that, of course, is the risk that Rambo will kind of bring that old, traditional Call of Duty style to a game that now plays very different. And you have guys that are absolutely cracked out of their minds, flying around corners like Illy, like Shotzi, like Hook. Exactly how do you coordinate that within your squad? You can't use those traditional metrics that we used to play with in Black Ops 2 because the game has changed. The pace has increased to a great degree. And the whole in-game leadership type figure kind of seems to have gone out the window. So definitely, it's a new wave of Call of Duty we're experiencing right now. Can Rambo help the team adapt to this? I'm sure he can, but he's got to try and maybe put his past behind him in a sense. The game doesn't play how it used to, for sure. Let's look at some of his results then. So all the way back in the day, the national championship in COD 4 2009, 2010 as well, and then the Columbus Major. So this is, all the way back in Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, and then Black Ops 2, I kind of really got to know him. But of course, he was on the OpTic gaming team back in the day, even in Black Ops 1, alongside, Merk, Big T, and JCat. What a throwback lineup that is. Played with Scump as well on Apex Esports in this interesting time in Scump's career, before it already kicked off in Black Ops 2. And then he went on to the Team Envy squad that came back-to-back runner-ups in both World Championships. So this is kind of like, obviously back in the day, the competition level wasn't quite as strong, but to think that Envy came second with a squad of Stainville, JCat, Proofy, and Rambo, and then of course they do win this UGC Niagara, and then the next year, as you can see here through these events, didn't have the best end to the year, did Team Envy. This is where Complexity and Freako was more early season, but this is when Complexity pretty much took over through this entire period. What of course is very interesting about this is on that Complexity squad was none other than Ian Crimsix Porter, who he is now going to be coaching and being the general manager for. General manager effectively means he can make a lot of decisions regarding the organization, like if they decide to need a roster change or whatever the case may be. He does talk in this video though about how it's really difficult to make roster changes nowadays, given that people are locked into contracts and you kind of have to treat it as a more working environment, which is definitely very true. But if that was to be the case and they need a different substitute or something happens, Rambo would be the decision maker there. But to also be the head coach is very interesting. It does require a great depth of knowledge about the game. and an understanding about the players, which he definitely has about Crimsix, but I'm sure there's a lot to learn about these new young guys, and who knows how much competitive Call of Duty Rambo has really watched over the last 5 years or so, and how much he's seen the development of the scene. I think he did come back on the desk actually at one point, maybe in World War II, so he definitely keeps up with it. But maybe to the same degree Puckett does, where it's kind of in the back of minds, and there's definitely a few things Rambo can learn. However, on paper, this is a really cool pickup. So the interesting part of these things, of course, is that Team Envy is the team he finished on. He lost in the Call of Duty Championship. He mentions in the video how the first map, and the first S&D at least, he went 0-10 on this map, so an awful map from him, and just lost the finals to Crimsix, who he is now coaching. So this is the team, this is the player roster. Clayster, Shotzi, Hugilly, C6, which I really hate, it should be Crimsix, Tommy and Tish are the substitutes, and then that whole Mutex situation that I'm sure you guys a lot will remember back in the November time. Do you think this is going to work out for this squad? Of course, right now they don't have a coach or a general manager. I can't see how that aspect of the team is going to hurt their play unless Rambo is, trying to enforce a play style which doesn't work in modern Call of Duty. Fact of the matter is, Atlanta FaZe are the best team right now. They have some patience, but they have an awful lot of pace on the team. That's what's making them so good. Exactly how do you tackle that to become the best team in the game? Do you try and beat them at their style? That's going to be pretty much impossible. Or do you try and have some pace, but slow things down in other aspects of the game to take more raged fights and make it, take advantage of them flying around corners as they do? I imagine that is the way to go. Maybe that's more in line with what Rambo sees as the proper way, I suppose, to play Call of Duty, like he effectively invented back in the Black Ops 2 days. So, of course, nowadays, people understand the game to a great degree. Is Rambo going to be the guy that can actually take it to the next level once again? That's unlikely, given he hasn't played the game at a high level for very, very long indeed. But he does understand the fundamentals, and he understands the fundamentals of what it takes to be a winning and a championship contender team, as Crimsix and Clayster do, not so much the rest of the guys, which does make for an interesting precedent. He should be able to add something on paper, but it's difficult to say exactly what goes on behind the scenes. I do think, though, that Crimsix and Clayster, especially as kind of the leadership figures on this team, it will help to have someone else behind them that can keep things cool under pressure, because they're pretty hot-headed players at times, right? And Rambo has always been super, super cool. That's one of his, characteristics that we've seen throughout Call of Duty history. So just before we finish then, wanted to mention this from Parasite. Yo, can I get paid, please, for COD champs from last year at GG Midnight at Kinney McGraw? You won't answer me anyway, so this is my only avenue of contacting. So last year at the World Championships, Parasite is saying he didn't even get paid. Just wanted to mention this real quick. If this story develops into anything, I'll keep it in the back of mind. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Leave your thoughts down below. Is this going to work for Dallas Empire? Is this going to help them? On paper, it sounds pretty good, but in reality, is this going to make a tangible difference? Who really knows? We'll have to see over the coming months. Thanks for watching as always. I will see you next time.